Recuse.
Thank you, Chairman. Ms. Sohn, welcome. You're required to recuse yourself from any matter in which you could have a financial benefit. However, as has been discussed repeatedly today, you chose to submit a voluntary letter of recusal to the FCC's acting general counsel on January 27th, informing them that should you be confirmed, you would recuse yourself from any matter, quote, where retransmission consent or television broadcast copyright is a material issue, unquote. You explain in this letter that this is done to avoid any appearance of impropriety and to ensure that the public has full confidence that policymakers will make decisions free of bias. Your letter goes on to explain that you signed a petition for rulemaking in the FCC's rulemaking process for this issue. Ms. Sohn, as my colleagues have discussed, the committee's in possession of a list of other issues that may show that you have a potential bias dating back to 2001. Many of these also show your signature. I won't list every instance here, of course, but I'll be including them in my questions for the record. Today, however, can you just reiterate for me, if you would, why you would recuse yourself regarding retransmission consent, but not other issues? Or more specifically, when you'll voluntarily recuse yourself in the future? What is, in short, the Sohn rule?
So the reason that I submitted this letter was to address concerns from many members of this committee over my involvement with Lowcast, okay? And I tied that, based on precedent, to a petition for rulemaking that I signed 12 years ago. So that's very, very narrow, okay? Now, if there are other documents that I've signed while I was a public knowledge, I will be happy to talk to Ethics Counsel about whether I should recuse. I'm happy to do that. Anybody can challenge my impartiality. That's possible. Industry could do that. But this is the only issue because of the general concern on the committee that I am agreeing to voluntarily recuse myself temporarily from a set of very narrow issues highly unlikely to come before the commission.
So as I believe you've said before, this voluntary recusal is a purple cow and a reflection of concern from a number of members of this committee during your hearing last December. Some of my colleagues have pointed out that the committee has favorably reported nominees that previously worked in industry and for particular industry-aligned associations, and have alluded to the idea that some of our serious questions for you are simply a result of your experience as a public interest advocate. That's unfortunate because we're sitting here genuinely attempting to understand the source, the details, and future impact of your voluntary recusal. And while you did point to that, you just mentioned the precedent, to a 1998 recusal as precedent. It raises questions of how this is all going to play out in the future. So I'll ask you, how binding is your recusal letter?
Well, it's voluntary. So I could, with, again, advice of Ethics Counsel, if needs be, unrecuse myself, or they would basically give me license to unrecuse myself.
That's what I thought. I just want to understand.
It's not permanently binding.
Okay. So you can simply rescind it if you chose?
Well, I would not rescind it without consulting with counsel. That is absolutely, I can make you that promise. Number one, I'm not inclined to rescind it, period. But, you know, let's say the chair came to me and said, Gigi, I really need you on this issue, and it's kind of, you know, it's kind of a gray area, and, you know, will you talk to counsel about it, whether you can participate, whether there's a problem with impartiality, which that's kind of that's the standard from the ethics rules that you look at. I would do that.
Thank you for that. One final thing. So I think you've laid the foundation for this. Having said all of that, and having reassured the committee and members of the public, do you have any concern that anyone that might be affected by your decisions, this could undermine trust in the FCC's stability moving forward if that recusal changed at some point in the future, since you do have the flexibility to change it after consultation with Ethics Counsel?
I don't think so. Look, I've had overwhelming support from the public, from real people, actually. 350,000 citizens have weighed in on my behalf. 250 organizations, including some of the, I didn't get to talk to Senator Scott about the censorship issue when I have support from, the president of One America Network and the CEO of Newsmax and the president now of the Parents Television Council. I mean, can we put this censorship thing to bed? It's a little bit ridiculous. But in any event, no, I think actually there's an overwhelming desire from the public that I do sit on the FCC, not that I don't sit on the FCC.
Thank you.
Senator Cruz.